What's good, YouTube? This video is going to be about 6 signs that a shy guy likes you. I'm doing this video because I had a client recently tell me about a guy at her job, and she's going through all of his behaviors. And for me, it's clear he's just not the most aggressive guy around, but he values her in a serious way, and there's real relationship potential here. And she was kind of fond of him too, but she just didn't know how to proceed, and she wasn't sure that he liked her. With my advice, they ended up on a date and they're going on a second date. And now they're probably going to be in more close communication. But they were both a little bit afraid of each other. Even so, this idea that if a man is shy, that he's less masculine is foolishness. That's a false equivalency. A man being afraid to speak his heart or say what he feels to a woman is a lot different than a man not being able to protect her. It's a lot different from him not being assertive in his own life. It's a lot different from him being soft, right? Being a pushover. The way men handle women they love or like or are fond of is much different a lot of times than how they handle the world. So if you're just turning this video on thinking, oh, I don't deal with shy guys, I need a hard guy, I need a alpha man, blah, blah, blah. An alpha man can still be a shy guy because that's a different compartment of who he is how he deals with the woman he likes. I know a lot of very scary men who are terrified to talk to women, right? I know a lot of men who are very, very dangerous, but terrified to talk to women. Don't make the false equivalency that just because a man is shy, that he's less masculine, because that is not always true. Just because a man is patient and might look or appear aggressive doesn't mean that he's soft. So let's just get that out the way. But anyway, these are 6 signs that a shy guy might like you and that you might need to be a little bit more obvious in your hinting and or you just need to say the thing. Say the weird thing. Let's be real. Most people are not photogenic, and undoctored pictures almost never do anyone justice. I've had about 300 clients tell me that somebody either looked better in person based on their pictures and that their pictures didn't do them justice, or they looked way more raggedy than they expected them to look based on the profile pictures. A lot of people wish that they could have spoken to a person on a video or heard their voice before swiping in the wrong direction. People often complain about how much time was wasted misjudging attraction based on pictures and weak-ass inbox messages alone. Hell, at the very least, I know many of you are tired of trading dried up pleasantries until you both grow too bored to respond to one another. Matter of fact, put a 1 in the comment section if you've ever thought to yourself, I have shit to do, and just block somebody for wasting your time. And I know I can't be the only person who showed up to a date after looking at some attractive pictures and thought, damn, they got me. I was mistaken. Hell, I've been catfished 3 times, so I know how rough it can be. For years as a life and dating coach, I've suggested that my clients do preliminary video dates before they meet people in person. They find it awkward to set up or ask for, so they usually don't do it out of anxiety. But on our app, it's the only way to connect to somebody after you match with them or like them. There's no need to be nervous or anxious. It's not awkward. It's just the way things are, which protects you from getting catfished or placing yourself in danger to meet a stranger you've never seen or spoken to. It facilitates real people having real conversations to see if there's a real connection. Instead of an inbox full of emojis and acronyms, you check your likes and your video messages. Have an instant speed date when you like someone instead of passing messages back and forth for a week. How much simpler would it be to weed out the unserious and measure real intellectual compatibility? You can also easily screenshot inappropriate behavior and get predators banned for life. Our app has the power to change dating culture for the better and bring back the humanity and the respect to dating apps. We want to really get people talking again instead of just carelessly swiping away at people as if they were only pictures. Try our app today and help us restore the dignity back to dating online. And before I get into it, once the relationship starts with a shy guy, generally he stops being so terrified of you, right? He settles down, he settles into the relationship and assumes the masculine role. You're not going to have to wear the pants just because he was afraid to tell you he liked you. Eventually, he'll get used to you, he'll calm down, and he'll be what he needs to be for the relationship, especially if you've made your needs clear. So again, if I haven't made it obvious, number 1, he may seem very soft around you. Fear of women can suppress masculinity, or it can at least suppress the look and the optics that masculinity generally present. Or it could betray what you believe masculinity is supposed to look like. right? It looks too passive, it looks too accommodating, it looks too considerate. But that's just because they're considering you. They're trying to accommodate you because they like having you around. They want your presence. This causes them to soften all their mannerisms and appear more feminine. It's not an accurate portrayal of the man you get. It's just him being frozen in place, muted out of nervousness. Think of it like if you have a fear of speaking in public and you get on the microphone and there are 500 people in the crowd. Like trying to enunciate and project your voice when you're terrified, it shrinks your voice. It puts a frog in your throat and it makes you less able to talk. It's the same way around a woman you have deep and intense feelings for if you're a guy sometimes. Tons of women have told me they thought the guy that had a crush on them was actually gay. The likelihood is he's not gay. He's just suppressing behaviors that you could perceive as threatening and or creepy. With that said, the second sign that a shy guy likes you is, while he might be terrified to approach you and ask you for a date, he'll puff up his chest and appear hyper masculine, right? The display of hyper masculinity when women are around, especially women a man likes, is really common. These guys want to be seen as a strong dominant type or the pack leader. They want you to see them as mighty, as strong, as the head guy in charge. And so they make a caricature of what masculinity is, and they actually come off as either creeps or assholes or jerks. They're going out of their way to be rough and rugged. Oftentimes these guys are posturing as if they've seen a threat, right? As if somebody's about to fight them, as if they've just left a fight or are thinking about fighting. Like you can look at a guy and see the aggression, the violence in his eyes. You know, what the hell's wrong with this dude? Or sometimes they even will mean mug you, but it's not what you think. When a guy accidentally mean mugs you, it's because he's perceiving rejection and he's actually wincing at the pain of the rejection. He's not actually mean mugging you. He's not a violent threat to you. He's just interpreting that you might not accept him because he's not seeing acceptance in whatever posture or whatever look you're giving him. And so he's thinking, damn, I can't have her. And that wince is kind of a frown. It's a separation from what he wants and what he can have. A lot of times men will actually accidentally mug the woman that they have the most feelings for and the crush on. Right. But again, this hyper masculinity, this posturing, this macho behavior is usually a shy guy, a man too shy to say, hey, how you doing? Listen, you know, you want to go out or whatever he wants to say. He's too shy for that. So he's going to just posture until you have a crush on him. He thinks that's going to work. Essentially, they start looking crazy to everybody around, or at least you. They're looking like a threat to even you. A lot of times these guys aren't crazy. They're just trying to figure out how to look like they're the most masculine guy so that you can select them. And while they puff up to look masculine, they're usually quiet because they're terrified of saying something stupid. It's always the strong, crazy looking, silent type. With that said, number 3 on my list is they try to show you they like you in nonverbal ways. Because they're too nervous to talk for themselves, because they're too nervous to represent how they feel or to ask you a question or to ask you out, they try to give you gifts or favors. They try to be really considerate. They try to help you around work or school. They try to be gentlemen, right? That's where chivalry comes from. Chivalry comes from the effort to impress women that you're attracted to. Women say chivalry's dead. It's because men have too much access to women and they've kind of scratched the itch already. At least that's one of the reasons. You'll often see the hero that likes you rushing off before he gets his thank you, because he's too nervous to even explain why he was doing that, right? He doesn't want the interaction because he doesn't want to be treated like a nice guy. He just wants to look like I did it, I don't care, right? He's trying to always look like he doesn't care while he's being super considerate, going out of his way, going through a lot of trouble to be nice to you. If you pat him on the head, it's emasculating. So he'll often help you or do something sweet and then just walk off like whatever. The most helpful guy is usually your biggest fan. He doesn't really stick around to humiliate himself in any way or to have an awkward moment where he doesn't say the right thing because he's still terrified of you. He's shy. With that said, the 4th sign that a shy guy likes you is he actually avoids talking to you. A lot of times a woman will see a guy, think he's nice, maybe appreciate all of his help, so she'll try to cultivate a relationship, build a rapport. And every time she tries to talk to him, he scurries away. It can feel impossible to get this guy to say 2 or 3 words to you. Even though he's so sweet and so nice, so considerate, so helpful, every time you try to have a conversation with him, He's busy. He's got to go. He scurries away, right? That's fear. That's fear of rejection. That's fear of embarrassment. That's him not being able to think straight when he's around you because his heart is beating too fast. That's that adrenaline rush he gets when you're around. He's incapable of talking until he knows that rejection isn't a pending doom. Most of the time, it can feel like he's avoiding you in between being nice and doing you favors. It can even seem like he dislikes you because he avoids you so much. You just have to remember, people aren't usually in the habit of facing their fears, but avoiding them. He knows that because of his nervousness, it's hard to have a naturally flowing conversation with you, so he avoids the conversation. So with that said, sign number 5 that a really shy guy likes you is profuse sweating. A lot of men get so hot, they get such an adrenaline rush when they're around a woman that every time she acknowledges them or talks to them and they're not ready for it, they haven't prepared for it, they start to sweat. Usually from their foreheads, you can see a man's underarms start to sweat all of a sudden out of nowhere. He's been to work all day. Y'all been to work 6 hours and you come up to him and talk to him for the first time and all of a sudden his underarms are wet or his forehead is dripping and he needs to pat his forehead. That's nervousness. That's his adrenaline. That's that fight or flight kicking in because his crush is in his presence. So if you start talking to a guy and his forehead is dry and within a few seconds of you starting to speak to him, his forehead starts sweating, he likes you. I've never started sweating talking to a woman I wasn't attracted to. It's not a thing. It means he's terrified. People sweat when they're really nervous or they care too much about the result of an interaction. This profuse sweating can ultimately lead them to, again, avoid you because they don't want to be seen as the wet, sweaty, nasty guy. It just increases their nervousness. With that said, the 6th and final sign that a shy guy likes you is, unfortunately enough, creepy behavior. In all his attempts to avoid you and do you favors at the same time, or the inflated and deflated postures that he may assume, his unnatural poses followed by awkward silences, all of these things, when put together, may make you start to perceive him as creepy or odd. And that's exactly what he doesn't want. But pay attention, is he always creepy or is he just weird around you? Do any other women in the office or at school or wherever you're encountering this man have that same sense of him? If you find yourself alone in the impression that something is off with this guy, then oftentimes it's you making him that way. And like I've said in other videos, creeper, creepy, creepo is like the worst thing you can call a guy. It infuriates, it strikes fear, it strikes mourning and depression. It is the most disrespectful, demeaning thing a man can be called. It is the most terrifying insult that can be thrown at a man, and you're hoping to never hear it from a woman. Nothing makes us feel smaller or more insignificant than to know that women think we're creepy. We don't want to make women feel unsafe or weirded out around us. It can be a huge hit to a man's self-esteem to know that that's his effect on the women around him, especially his crush. Being called creepy is like being called whore or slut as a woman, especially if you have done your best to appear to be the respectable, conservative, wholesome type. It can be mortifying to hear people think that of you. Most of these behaviors will fade as a man gets more comfortable with you. So build a good rapport with him if you feel like he has boyfriend potential, and in time he'll loosen up. Even so, that's all I got for now. Follow me at KidVic24 on Instagram. I'll get with y'all later.